Legend of Korra has gotten a bad rap over the years, what with its production, the Nickelodeon, and it being a sequel to one of the greatest cartoons on TV, Bob the Builder. Oh wait, that's not a cartoon. But seeing Avatar The Last Airbender get all the praise it rightfully deserves, I often wonder why I find myself thinking more fondly on The Legend of Korra, the sequel that gets so much hate in comparison to the original. Was it the time skip? The new protagonist? Milking a property non-stop? Gee, sure hope that doesn't happen again, huh? And yes, I do agree it's not a perfect show, but what is in this day and age? Arcane. But yeah, it turns out a show can be flawed and you still enjoy it, which is what happened with me. I genuinely had fun with this series, from the characters, the world they built, to the stellar animation. Yes, it's got problems, but so does milk for lactose intolerant people. I'ma still drink it anyway. And this is a video I wanted to make for a really long time as to why I think Korra is kinda good, okay, and you should give it a try yourself before listening to other people's opinions online. And now you'll listen to my opinion. Online. And I'm serious, I've actually had this Word document for this video, and I even made all these funny Avatar clips on a hard drive that's now dead just for that video. Yep, in December of 2016 I made a file just titled Korra. Oh wow, it's just like that SpongeBob episode. Really had the brain juices flowing that night. So in essence, oh wow, I actually have a 100-word review on Voltron, the show made by the same animators as Korra. Now for the backstory, The Legend of Korra is the sequel cartoon. Oh my god, the Voltron review was written after the first season? I had so much hope for that show. And Korra is set years after the ending of Avatar, a show who itself inspired so many people with its story, world building, animation, and if you call it anime, you're gonna get so many angry people in the comments. So this anime was monumental for me because in Australia they showed it on ABC after school, and that's kinda shocking since each episode continued on from the previous one. You couldn't just jump in randomly, which is why despite seeing so many ads for it, I never gave the show a chance. Now the only reason I watched it years later was because a YouTuber I liked at the time, I have to stress at the time, was doing a watch along series, so I watched the episodes to be in line with them. If that's not the weirdest way to get into a show, I don't know what is. And so I heard it got a sequel, Korra, which I watched right after season 2 aired, to then watch 3 and 4 while they were airing around globally on a weekly basis, which added to my enjoyment of discussing the show as the new episodes came out. So as you can see, that sort of forms a bias for me with the show. I hadn't watched anything like it apart from Avatar, and now I was discussing episodes with other people who liked it too. So that's why I wanted to make this video, to see now, 7 years later, just how good is Legend of Korra actually really, maybe, yeah? It's really great. So the Avatar is the blue. The Avatar is a person born with the powers to use the 4 elements, whereas most people can use only one if lucky. And whatever is going on in the world, they have to solve the problem. So when the Avatar dies, they get reborn as a new human, which is now Korra, after Aang connected the 4 nations and made Republic City the new center of the world with technology everywhere. And he died. And now Korra is the new Avatar, as she already wields 3 of the 4 elements. And Korra as a character is at least very different to Aang. She already knows she's strong with 3 elements, and so her personality is more aggressive, which may have been off-putting for some, but it actually gives her room to grow and change, which is why she sent to Tenzin, Aang's son, to learn about the wind power and just chill out. But literally the first thing she does when arriving is to try and stop criminals and ends up getting arrested, which led to this delightful moment, which I painstakingly copied for a gif I made years ago. She also finds that the Benders have a sport called pro bending, where they use the elements to push the opponents off the stage, and this is where she meets the main side characters, 2 brothers, Mako and Bolin, who both fall in love with Korra, and it leads to some cringe. Look, okay, it's realistic, all teenagers, you know, they have these feelings, they don't know what to do with them, but then Mako gets run over by Asami and falls in love with her, and then he cucks his brother, and they all fight and forgive each other in the same episode. Like, bro, what is happening? Please just get back to the bending! Which thankfully does happen around the middle of the season, with the villain, Amon.
Amon, I challenge you to a duel!
He leads a group called the Equalists to want elemental powers gone, so everyone is equal. Do you get the joke? And somehow he has the power to remove your bending, which kinda makes him terrifying. Here, Korra is so close to learning all the 4 elements, but one touch from this dude and she's back to square one. Which would also counter all her arrogance. She would be nothing without all the power she's bragged about having for years. And Amon's motivations are reasonable for his backstory they gave him, but I don't think they ever explained how he got the power. It's something to do with blood bending, and I really feel they just skipped over it. They did say while making the show they wanted to cut out the filler and make it non-stop fast fast paced, and I guess it might have just been forgotten about, but they were doing so much in one season and mostly succeeded. And I can say though, the fight scenes are incredible here. The South Korean based studio really utilizing the elements in martial arts alongside other fighting styles to make the battle so engaging to watch as someone who loves when animators are given more freedom to express themselves in what they do. So yeah, season 1 in my opinion was a great introduction to this world. They gave us a not so perfect main character who is still relatable with their experiences and has room to grow with others. I love the world they show with the steampunk mixed with bending. It feels seamless to how Avatar's society would naturally evolve to.
A society.
And I did enjoy the side characters, some more than others.
This'll come in handy.
But yeah, with no filler episodes, there wasn't much time to include all of that in these episodes, but it was a good starting point, okay? So, what's next?
No!
So Avatar 2 The Way of Water. Wait, no, that's the wrong Avatar. What the hell, Seed Bearer? So yeah, I didn't like season 2. Not now, not before, and I think it's people's least favorite season because it feels like a different show. It ignores everything built up in season 1 to focus more on the spirit world and the villain. I legit just forgot their name already. And I mean, I have the internet while writing this script so I could easily look it up. But so if you don't know, Korra was only meant to be a 12 episode show, but Nickelodeon ordered more episodes, which then became the next 3 seasons. Now I don't know if they planned season 2 before concepting Korra because it's so baffling with how I just missed the mark. And what's more baffling is how season 3 fixed every single problem this introduced. It was just like a weird blip of a season in all of Avatar. It focuses on Korra returning to a water tribe with her uncle, the chief of the northern tribe, coming to visit and going on about how they aren't spiritual enough and tricks Korra into opening the portal to the spirit world. And this is so confusing as Korra disobeys her dad and Tenzin, someone she started to trust and respect at the end of season 1. Nah, just throw it out the window. We gotta make her like this to push the plot forward. She's such a different character, doesn't even get fazed when her parents are arrested by her uncle, and is even like, wow, thanks uncle for putting my dad in jail instead of the death penalty. Then you have the side characters with Asami, Marco, and Bolin all doing drastically different things. Asami the more believable with her trying to pick up the father's crumbling company, but now Marco is in Republic City being a policeman who no one listens to, and he's kinda not even a good policeman, where he promises power to the triads for them to help him, all the while having a messy breakup with Korra, and getting back with Asami like, yeah, okay, thanks, we needed more of this. And Bolin is now a mover star with the new character Varric, who's probably the only delight in this dire season.
I hope President Raiko listens to us.
Don't worry, I was a big contributor to his election campaign. Him and the other guy, gotta hedge your bets.
But then Bolin falls in love with the other star, but is also forcibly engaged in a toxic relationship with Korra's cousin. Like man, it just feels all over the place. The side characters are now molded into these new roles to fit the story's purpose, with Korra now spending a lot of time in the spirit world. And yeah, the spirit world, where they spend 2 episodes with the very first Avatar 1, and how he lived with the spirits, but also set free the big evil spirit who was actually controlling Korra's uncle. I kinda wish these 2 episodes spent more time with Korra instead, but I understand it was needed to flesh out the villain and the other world that is important to Avatar, but I personally like the spirit world in small doses. It makes the story way less relatable to the viewer. I mean, when you have the final battle being the 2 combining with the spirits and going a giant monster battle in the middle of the city, you kinda missed a small scale fight.
Wow! That is relatable!
It just felt as though the show was trying this grand world-ending event when Avatar works best focused on villains who are motivated by their experiences to change their world for their ideals, not just a dude being controlled by an evil spirit, where I want to put forth a conspiracy theory here. So this season was actually done by a different studio, a Japanese one, so yeah, haha, insert the comment, season 2 is actually like an anime. No, really, insert that comment below. But I kinda wonder if the whole spirits now being the focus was because they are easier to animate, as their bodies really can stretch off model. And it reminds me of how in Pokemon Sun and Moon the animators simplify the designs for the sole purpose of making it easier to have more fluid animation. Just a thought. Because honestly my mind was wandering so much this season. I mean, look at my notes. There's nothing here. I think the biggest telling point of how different a season this was for Avatar was that it barely had any of those funny reaction faces to push the comedy.
No
like
offense,
here.
But I'm guessing the spirits have actually been to the spirit world, so I'm gonna follow them.
If we need to go to the Tenzin world, we'll call you.
In any other season, they would have animated Tenzin doing a funny reaction face, and that's all the season needed to help the wind escape my nostrils in a faster than normal manner. So let's move on. Season 3, I like Korra again. So let's just forget about Season 2, huh? But thankfully, the creators didn't. Yeah, Korra permanently opening this portal. Yep, they use it in the stories for the next 2 seasons, which at least is nice. They didn't just forget what happened and use it to further the plot, as now people are randomly getting airbending powers due to the portal, which means Tenzin might actually be able to revive the airbenders, and this season focuses on the group going around trying to convince people to join the cause, which is great as it shows us, no, of course not. If you're given magical powers, why would you then want to throw your life away to live a monk lifestyle away from your family? I also then loved how they did a SpongeBob chocolate marketing strategy to try and recruit more people. See, in the first few episodes, already the Avatar comedy is back! And action-wise, oh baby. So the villain this time is Zahir, who is a convict suddenly given airbending powers. Wow, another way to show how people who are given powers don't always want to be the good guys. What great writing. And so he bands his little group of villains who have also creative takes on the power, one whose limbs are water, one who shoots laser beams from a forehead, and the other bending lava. And now you have a villain who is using the one peaceful element of wind to kill people. Yes, actually kill people.
You're breathtaking.
And they are doing everything they can to capture Korra, making the fights feel more gritty. The group has to survive, and the villains even hold the airbenders hostage. It just upped the stakes so much on the show. And the fight scenes match perfectly. This season probably had the best choreographed fights in any animated medium. It also helped expand on the side characters, where you see Marco and Bolin working together, while Asami shows how much more she cares for Korra, but the biggest winner was Tenzin, with him and the new airbenders also managing his family, and how his daughter might be a new master, and man, his fighting style was so insane to watch. Now, despite all the praise, there was one crack starting to form, as wait, this was airing on TV, but huh? Why is there no new weekly episode on my screen? What do you mean it's on Nick.com? Yes, the dumping ground for shows Nickelodeon deemed weren't worthy of the SpongeBob ratings. So yes, kiddos, people watched cartoons on TV back in the day, and since Nickelodeon had the cash cow of SpongeBob, everything that was made was compared to it. And during this season, the last few episodes were taken off air and put on their website. This wasn't the first time Korra fought Nick, as even in the creation, the executives were worried about backing an animated show with a female lead character, as girls will watch shows about boys, but boys don't watch shows about girls. Thankfully, they would disprove the test screenings, but this kind of set up the tone for the show fighting back against Nickelodeon, especially in the final stages. I mean, they weren't just happy with the show's lower ratings, probably brought on by season 2.
8% approval?
Which is kind of funny looking back at how SpongeBob impacted Korra back then, and its official accounts posting this recently. Yes, this is real. I think this is part of the reason why I feel more strongly about this season, and why it was my favorite, because it was genuinely amazing, and fixed all the problems season 2 brought, but also was fighting to stay alive against Nickelodeon. And despite all that, they managed to get one final season out, being season 4. Well, was it good? Yeah, it was still good. It was really good. With a new villain, Kuvira, who was shaping the Earth Nation to be the new Fire Nation taking over the region, and being a menacing villain utilizing the Spirit Tree as a weapon, which was then put on this weird 3D mech, which is kinda because the show did 2D animation so well, and it just stuck out really, what the heck is this? And Korra at the end of 3 was poisoned and lost connections to the other avatars, meaning she's the last one. And the show actually spends a lot of time showing her dealing with the trauma and recovering, which is kinda why I preferred season 3, because now it had to fit all this in, and Kuvira's plans and all the characters plus all the new ones, like Bolin and another love interest, him learning new powers, this whole Metal City family drama, the Earth Kingdom problems. It just felt like a lot was going on, and they were barely managing to fit in the episodes remaining. But then Nick came in like a wrecking ball. So to be fair, Nick at least let them make the season 4, and despite it being released online, which was a death sentence in those days for TV shows, Nick cut the budget mid-season, and the creators had to choose whether to fire the staff or make a clip show, which is where you reuse footage from the earlier episodes. Thankfully, they picked the latter and no one was fired. It felt like no matter what, this crew was wanting to stick together to get this creation out. And even with the clip show, they were having fun with it, how like with The Simpsons, how they do it, with them telling a story and even showing the villains in a phone call together, which would probably indicate why the finale felt rushed to when you are now missing a whole episode, where it ends on a wedding and the characters' endings kind of glossed over, with Korra and Asami holding hands going on vacation into the spirit world. The ending really feels for 52 episodes being the finale with all these characters. They could have had more time to show what happens to them now, and even expanding on some plot points, like Korra lost her connection to the past avatars, meaning she can never get reincarnated, meaning she's the last avatar. This is kind of an important question to answer if you want to milk the franchise more. But yeah, it's not the worst ending, and Korra's not the worst show ever. I just think the reason why a lot of people hated it back then was because it was compared a lot to the original. However, I feel it's a bit too harsh given how Korra felt way more like a TV show than Avatar, by which I mean its production, and comparing it to sitcoms, which I've watched a lot lately, and I've seen so many things impact the production, like the actors dying and them continuing on by writing how the death impact the characters, then trying to bring in a wacky comedian to get some laughs and it failing miserably, or how a pregnancy means how they have to write the character out, or have them always holding something in front of them to hide it. It's stuff like this when I see what Nickelodeon did to Korra, but also how it was only planned for one season, but then suddenly given more episodes, and how the characters were always constantly molded into new roles to fit the story. It had a different production to Avatar, which was all set from the get-go. You knew the goal from the start. Not every season had a new villain they were introduced, which is why I'm impressed they managed to get a lot out given all these issues, and why I love this show. Bar season 2. It tackled a lot of issues you don't see in kids shows, and it was even heralded as the first TV cartoon to openly show a non-straight relationship, well, as much as they were allowed. And yes, of course they could have built it up more, but for what they did show, it felt way more believable than anything in season 1. Seriously, rewatching this, oh boy. And also I want to shout out to my favorite character, Tenzin, voiced by the wonderful J.K. Simmons.
Were you rushing or were you dragging?
He is the calm adult teaching this arrogant kid the way of his life, how he had to deal with that, then his people getting more recruits, how to manage all this in his growing family, all the while shouldering the expectations of being the responsible son of Aang, the savior of the world. I actually like Tenzin so much as a character, so much so that I can reveal that I actually ran a fan account of him on Facebook when the show was airing.
My secret shame.
Yeah, I had this account that got popular quite quickly as another bigger account based on the first Avatar shared my page, and I specifically made memes without watermarks so that people could share them freely, and yes, it's so cringe looking back, but I kind of think it shows just how much I love Korra, and that it was the first show I watched while discussing with others online. Watching as a shared experience really feels different than in isolation, so it's probably why I feel more nostalgia with Korra than I do with Avatar, which is a perfect show, don't get me wrong. I just feel more connection to Korra with the stories, the animation, and the animation, I'm gonna praise it again, as they were mostly done by Studio Mir, who were founded by the animation director of Avatar, with only 20 animators, and man, they did a phenomenal job. I think a lot of the reasons why I love Korra is how good the animation is, mixing in martial arts with bending, and the action scenes always felt like they showed enough. A problem I have with anime fight scenes is that you get a lot of standing and talking with only a few seconds of actions that cut away too early into less choreographed shots. As someone who appreciates the medium a lot, I was blown away by the consistent quality it managed for 52 episodes compared to other shows. And now the franchise is in a weird place. What with it being confirmed the creators are working on multiple properties relating to it, which can be a good or bad thing. But I'm actually kind of worried because I don't think they can replicate anything they did with Avatar or Korra, given how unique a time period they released these shows in when no other shows did what they did. Well, I say that, but then Arcane legit gave me the same vibes as this, and it's my favorite animated show ever. So we shall see what happens to this crazy franchise. And yes, I hope you enjoyed this video. I tried to go a bit more in depth in my thoughts and make this longer than my recent ones, and I want to do that for the future videos, as there's a lot of things I want to talk about taking this channel forward, and maybe I have been considering a Patreon if you would like to help support me out, so let me know below, because I have a feeling with the next video I'm going to be fighting a lot of copyright to even try to talk about this gem.